You're listening to Fox City's Murder and Mayhem, your bi-weekly dose of true crime history in a small rural community of Wisconsin.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Fox City's Murder and Mayhem. I'm Eric.
I'm Gavin.
And Gavin, we are back again. We are not
back.
talking murder or mayhem, right?
Correct.
Just a weird story that we want to thank our listener who kind of turned us onto this story a little bit.
Yeah.
And
is his name Nick?
I can't remember.
Oh, no.
I apologize to our listener. I do not remember. I think that does sound familiar, though.
Okay. I don't know. Eric got a message. I didn't even get the message, but Eric got a message with this story, and my initial reaction was something along the lines of, that's not a murder and mayhem story.
It's like, do you really want me to do this?
I'm like, why would we do that? But we're going to do this anyway. There is no murder. There is no mayhem. There's no violence. There is no crime. There is nothing.
It's just interesting.
Yeah, it's just a local story. And on top of all that, it also violates the show rule that things are supposed to be 50 years or older. But I think that's okay, because the reason that rule is in place is because I don't want people to be have bad emotions come up and things like that. I don't think that's a risk this
is a pretty not negative story.
I'm not going to say anything bad about anybody. So I think we're pretty safe here. This is the story of, I'm going to call it Irish sax. Now it's a little more complicated than that, but I'm going to call it Irish Sax, which was a recording studio in the Fox Cities. And the reason it was brought to our attention was because they are the people who recorded the Menards jingle.
Yep.
The
Save Big Money at Menards jingle.
I was going to try to do it. But yes, the Save Big Money at Menards jingle, which, if you live in the Midwest, I'm sure you know the jingle. It's been playing for decades. Irish sax. So it was started around 1974 by two teachers and a university music student. Ed Sachs taught English and math in Fredonia, which is actually like southeast Wisconsin. He went on to handle sales and lyric writing for this business. Keith Irish taught elementary school in Neenah, but he switched over to engineering and technical work. His brother Mitch was the musical one of the group, and he composed and arranged the music and did the singing. The studio was assembled from secondhand parts from other studios. They said, hey, we got some good parts here, and apparently some of their parts came from a studio that had recorded themes before them. So like, it's what these things were designed to do.
Okay.
One theme they noted that was recorded on them, not by them, was the Quasar television theme. Now, I don't know if people know Quasar television. It's not really a thing anymore, but
I have no idea what their theme was, but I remember Quasar TVs.
Okay. So if you saw a Quasar TV commercial, then it would have been stuff recorded on their equipment. Keith would later say Mitch had the musical aptitude and he liked to do all the technical stuff like overdubbing and reverb. I like to do the creative stuff like writing lyrics. Their first client came in the summer of 1974 from a Neenah eating place. They did not identify what place. They just said the first client was a Neenah eating place, so don't know. Don't know if they still exist. But apparently they liked it, and these guys dropped out of teaching. They said, we're not going to be teachers anymore. This jingle writing, this is for us. We're going to do this full time. Originally, the place is located in the basement of Keith Irish's home in Neenah. I think he might still live there, so I don't know if I should give the address. It was public. Like, it's not a secret, but I think he might still be there. Ed Sachs says, I don't think many people even know we're here. They were interviewed shortly after starting. He pointed out that they had never advertised, but they were the only business north of Milwaukee equipped to write, produce, and record radio and TV jingles. Their work could be heard as far north as Rhinelander, as far south as Illinois. They were soon expected to be broadcast in 6 states thanks to recording they did for a home dealership in Mercer, Wisconsin. Said, we work very well together. We communicate effectively. We want to grow, and we have grown. Within the first 2 years, they have handled 80 clients, including car dealers, home construction companies, restaurants, banks, and others. They wanted to do very personal stuff. They will only meet people face to face. They don't do stuff by mail or over the phone. They sit down with them and make sure they understand their client before they try to even put a jingle together. I got a sniffle here.
So this is primarily all they ever did was just these sort of commercial jingles for companies, basically.
That was their primary focus.
Okay.
I have a lot of quotes here, and I'm not going to read all the quotes. They will be online, but they talk a lot about how they choose clients and how they choose what they come up with for clients. Within a couple of years of starting, they had a pool of about 20 musicians and singers from around the area. They drew primarily from UW-Oshkosh, Lawrence University, and St. Norbert's College. And then I have a list of some of the people who would work with them. They got people from a local band called Friends, as well as some of these other students. They do not say this in the articles, but I suspect, and I apologize if this is wrong, but I suspect it helps to have college students because they probably work for cheap.
Yeah.
So,
and not to mention that in this area, that's probably their best resource to get musicians too.
Yeah. Yeah, but I see that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we get students from Oshkosh and Lawrence," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're probably just feeding them lunch." I don't know that. Maybe they got paid really well, but so a slight detour here at this point. In 1978, there was a UW-Oshkosh professor named Bob Jacobs.
Okay.
And I actually want to make a whole separate episode on Bob Jacobs.
Okay.
So I'm not going to go into it here. But Bob Jacobs he was a film professor in Oshkosh. He had made a movie called Exit Dying, which I don't think is a great title, but whatever. And he wanted to make another movie, a bigger movie, a sci-fi movie called Timing Run, which I also don't think is a great title. So he forms this company called Timing Run Incorporated to raise money to make this movie. And he raises a bunch of movies. Like I said, I want to do a separate episode, so I'll go into detail about that otherwise. But why this is relevant here is Mitch Irish apparently performed the main theme song to Timing Run, but I don't know what became of it because the Timing Run movie never happened.
Okay.
Exit Dying happened. It exists as a movie. Timing Run fell through.
Okay.
And again, I'll go. We'll do a separate episode because this is a whole thing. But I'm not clear if Mitch Irish recorded the theme song and then the movie just was never made, or if he was chosen to record the theme song and then didn't record it because there was no movie.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if this theme song exists. There might be a theme song to a movie out there that has no movie. By 1979, this is about 5 years after starting, they're still based out of the Neenah basement. They get stronger links to Lawrence University. At this point, they're even getting entire bands, like Lawrence Jazz Band, to come in and help record. And this is an experience that is good for both the students and the studio. The studio now has this whole group of musicians, but it's also helpful for the musicians because it's teaching them about how to arrange music and record music. And it's kind of a different setup because this studio is not big. If you see it, even if you've never seen a recording studio, you maybe have seen one in a movie or TV. Mm-hmm. And most of the time, they're not huge rooms.
Right.
And that's the case here. So like if the jazz band is coming in, it's not the whole jazz band is packed in this room. A couple are coming in at a time. And that's an interesting thing for a student to experience because they're used to having everybody in the room playing a song.
Right.
Now they have to learn how to play it individually so it can be layered together on the recording. So, kind of a cool experience for the students to learn that, when I'm sure they probably knew that, but, to learn that when you listen to an album, those people aren't actually all just sitting in a room recording. A lot of times they're doing individual instruments and then putting them together.
Right.
So kind of cool that they were able to do that. In 1979, the recording studio was involved with the movie The Capture of Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah, I remember this. Gavin gave me a little insight into this.
I am so pleased about this. I am so pleased. I don't know how they became involved. I wish I knew how they became involved. I reached out to a guy that I know who's kind of like an expert on this movie, and I hadn't heard back from him by the time that we released, so I don't know. But Mitch Irish has a song on the soundtrack called My Spirit Runs Free. The songs were also written by his brother Keith, and Ed Sachs was involved with some of this recording as well. So it was clearly like these three guys from the studio, not just Mitch solo. Mm-hmm. There's also vocals on another track called Sensuous Tiger.
Wonderful name.
Which have female vocals from Patty Holzman, and Patty has come up as one of their female singers. So, if you hear female vocals in a radio jingle, it could have been Patty. Mm-hmm. So she's out of their group as well. Can I detour here for a moment?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I want to talk about Capture of Bigfoot.
Okay.
So I'm gonna tell you that, and this will probably shock you, Eric. I've never seen Capture of Bigfoot.
You've never seen it?
I've never seen it.
He seems like he knows everything about it.
So, Capture of Bigfoot is this movie that was filmed in Gleason, Wisconsin, which is like kind of near Merrill, kind of up by Wausau. I've been to Gleason a couple times, and I met the director a couple times. So, the director is Bill Rebane, and Bill Rebane is weird. He's a weird guy. I've seen a lot of his other movies. He did the Giant Spider Invasion. He did a movie called Alpha Incident. He did a movie called Blood Harvest. I've seen most of his movies. I have not seen Capture of Bigfoot, strangely enough. But Bill is an odd guy. Bill lives in the Northwoods of Wisconsin specifically because he really hates people.
I like this guy already, man.
Yeah, he is a weird guy. The second time I met him, ran into him at an ice cream shop.
That's random.
And he said he was with his mother-in-law. And the reason that's weird is Bill Rebane
is not married.
No, he's at least 70, if not 80 years old.
Really?
So, how old is his mother-in-law? But anyway, weird guy. So I'd love to know why because all his movies have music. But as far as I know, only Capture of Bigfoot used the studio in the Fox Cities. I'd love to know how that came about. Best I can gather, it was in mid-1979 that they moved out of the basement in Neenah to a place at 1719 West Washington Street in Appleton.
Okay. So this is not the location that was our guest or our email person had mentioned either.
Correct.
So this is more closer to downtown, I would assume, right?
It's not really downtown. The building was under construction at the time. So the contractor was able to design their portion of the building as a studio from day one, which was really nice. They were like, yep, we're going to rent out this space. So if you could design this room while you're building it, fantastic. The Save Big Money Menards jingle was created around 1980. Now, it's really hard to pinpoint this down. Like, it comes up, like, anytime they do interviews, it comes up, because that's, like, the big thing they're known for. But it's hard to tell. I think it's from 1980. Some sources suggest it could have been as late as 1982. But regardless, it's pretty clear it would have been recorded at the 1719 West Washington Street location.
Okay.
Because that's where they would have been in the early 80s.
Okay.
So Ed Sachs would later do an interview like 25 years after the fact. And he said, that jingle is the most important advertising that Menards does. I have a million stories about people's relationship to that jingle. I don't know about that, but everybody knows the jingle, for sure. So, by the fall of 1981, Irish Sax had done over 600 jingles.
Wow.
And they now started doing a thing that they called Packer Playback, although apparently internally they just called it Packer Rap. They marketed it as Packer Playback, but they called them Packer Raps. And they would play following each Green Bay Packer game. The songs would summarize what happened in each game. Keith Irish said that they were inspired after doing some work for John Steinmiller, who was publicity for the Milwaukee Bucks. The music was styled off the teams that the Packers played. When the team was playing Atlanta, they would make it a country-sounding song. When they were playing in Los Angeles, they would do a Beach Boys-sounding song. The singers for those raps, a list here, I'm not going to say them out loud, but again, from some of these people, from this band Friends, from a band called Matrix at the time, they come in and do these. The music was written first, so before the game ever happened, the music was already written.
Okay.
And then Keith would sit down and write the lyrics while watching the game, noting the play-by-play. Recording sessions could be as short as 3 hours, or on occasion they would go until 2 in the morning. Then, immediately after, cassettes would be sent out to WHBY, WLUK, Channel 7 in Wausau, Channel 15 in Madison, and WTMJ in Milwaukee, where they would be played. Now, I sent you one of these.
Yes, and we are going to affix it at the end of this episode for everybody to hear.
Yeah.
It is not...
It's not what?
It's not something I would listen to after every Packer game. But it is funny that they put these together. And in your research, did you learn, like, are they selling it to the radio station, or were they just doing this because this is a fun thing for them to do?
See, I think mostly because it's a fun thing, because they said that the songs were not very profitable, but it opened a lot of doors for them. Okay. Which would lead me to believe that they were not getting paid for this, but it was just a good promo.
Yeah, and I bet you it was a huge marketing tool for them, so that because companies would hear the jingles after the games or whatever and be like, let's get these guys in to do stuff. So
yeah. So these apparently were very popular. The one that we have, I think it's the Colts they're playing?
Yep. If I remember right, it is a Colts rap.
Okay. So you'll hear that at the end of the episode. And that was sent to me by one of the people who's singing on it. Apparently they were very popular. And at the end of that first season, they got contacted by the Minnesota Vikings. And the Vikings wanted them to do songs for all of their season as well. So they said, okay. Keith Irish said, I feel like the ultimate hypocrite recording Viking songs, but when Green Bay plays Minnesota, I'll just have to do it from 2 different slants. Should be a riot. We'll have a lot of fun with it. Later, they would claim that as many as 12 different teams approached them to do versions of these.
Really?
Yes. But Keith would later say, if it wasn't for the 1982 NFL strike, we would have all collapsed and died from exhaustion.
Trying to do all his songs.
So I don't remember the 1982 NFL strike, a little before my time, but apparently these teams just kept coming and saying, "We love this. Can you do it for us?" And they weren't going to say no.
And then they started doing them, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is so much work."
But yeah, if they had to do 12 of these a week on top of their regular work, oh my gosh.
God, yeah.
Yeah, just random things that come up here and there. I thought one thing was neat was in March 1988, the state was celebrating Music in Our Schools Month. And the recording engineer at the time was a man named Larry Darling. So they had other employees as well as the three guys. Larry Darling spoke with the students at Electaquini Middle School in Kaukauna.
Wow.
Yeah.
What year was this?
1988.
Dude, were we there?
I don't know. I don't know. But the recording engineer explained to kids there what he did as far as recording. In 1988, there was a split. Ed Sachs split off to form Sachs Productions in Grand Chute. He was joined by his son Scott. Irish Sachs didn't want to be called Irish Sachs anymore because Sachs didn't work there. So they changed their name to Irish Sounds Creative.
Okay.
Both were apparently really successful. Irish Sounds was doing well enough that they were looking to expand into an additional 6,000 square feet on top of what they were already doing. They were sending out 50 radio recordings every week. And by 1991, they believed they had done 15,000 jingles overall.
Wow.
Two popular ones that they were sending out in 1991 were Fox Valley Greyhound Park's Fun on the Run and American TV's It's Gotta Be Good.
American TV?
I don't know. Do you remember American?
Oh, okay.
It was like an electronics store.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Blast from the past, man.
Yeah.
I can't believe I forgot.
What happened to American? I don't know, but things, they split. They were both successful, but competition was coming. In 1991, other people started moving into the business. A man named Jim DeCoche, I'm not sure. I'm going to say DeCoche, opened up a home studio in Appleton, and he told the newspaper that people better watch out because home recording is coming. He said, sound equipment's getting cheaper all the time, and you could get a 4-track studio started for as low as $500. He said one of the biggest reasons for this was the introduction of musical instruments digital interface.
Okay.
Or MIDI.
Okay. I know MIDI.
Which provided a lot of versatility with nothing more than a keyboard. So he's like, guys better watch out. We don't need full bands anymore. We just need a keyboard and a tape recorder. Yeah. Slight detour again.
Okay.
This is why I like this episode, because this is just like detour episode. There's nothing serious in it at all. You know MIDI.
I know. Yeah, I'm familiar with the term.
I know MIDI, and I want to tell people why I know MIDI. So people of a certain age will appreciate this, and everyone else would not give a crap. But whatever. There used to be a game called Doom.
Okay.
Have you heard of this game?
Of course I've heard of this game. I love Doom.
Okay.
It's not as good as Wolfenstein, but it's still good.
Okay. Well, Doom, games don't really do this anymore, but Doom was built in such a way where you could swap out the images and the sounds and put your own stuff in.
Okay, yeah.
Like you would just have to rename your file to their file, and it wasn't smart enough to know it was the wrong file. So you could change like the villains in Doom to whatever you designed as the villains.
Right. I remember never doing this, but I remember people giving me different versions of Doom where it would be like all Barney.
Yeah, Barney was a popular one.
Yeah.
But yeah, the music was MIDI. And so you could download MIDI tracks of like popular songs and they're not like MIDI is not good at all.
Like it's not a good format. Like it sounds like crap. Or?
It sounds terrible.
Okay,
it sounds terrible, but it's like this is back at. Young people today will not appreciate that you had to have super small files.
Mm-hmm.
Like an MP3 or a WAV file would be way too big. Because we were putting things on discs that could only hold like a megabyte at a time.
Yeah.
So you'd have to have MIDI, which takes up no space at all. But because it takes up no space at all, it's bad.
Yeah.
But it was fun because you could put popular songs into games and stuff, and if you wanted to hear it, I mean, as long as it could be played on a keyboard, you could turn it into a song. There'd be no vocals, and there's certain instruments that sound terrible as a keyboard, but whatever. But MIDI was fun. Don't know what purpose it would serve today. Like, kind of completely outdated.
Yeah.
They were still going as of 2000. Sax is still regularly recording. Keith Irish is still regularly recording.
2000, man, really?
That's so at that point, they've been doing it for 25 years. And they're bringing in some real talent. So locally in the Fox Cities area, people might have heard the name. Tim Dorsey is like a big guy locally. Originally, I think he was mostly known as like a wedding singer.
Okay.
But he would come in and he would do jingles with them in addition to that, so he could do that. A woman named Janet Planet would come in and do things with them. She's been a singer in the Valley for a long time. But those two kind of stand out because this sort of helped them along. Yeah, so Janet Planet and Tim Dorsey are kind of like this interesting story where they are able to make a living of this because they both regularly have music gigs. And Tim Dorsey's he also does wedding DJing, and now today he's still around and he's branched out even more where now he's also like an agent. Like if you go to his website, he's like the agent for like magicians and other
nice.
Any random talent that you might want to hire, you can hire through him. But this was really nice because, like, I don't know if people know this, but like, if your primary job is playing in a band in a bar, you're probably not making much money. If you play every night, sure, but most bands are not playing constantly,
right?
So this was like a really cool thing where, they could come in and do a couple jingles, and then they'd get paid. And they could continue doing the music on their own time. So it was sort of like a steady thing to have them not have to go work, retail or something. So kind of neat. At this point in around 2000, a singer could be paid anywhere between $100 on the low end to several $1,000s on the high end, depending on the client. If it was a big thing like Menards or Stein's Gardens and Gifts, might pay a little bit more. But the catch was that singers on jingles do not get royalties.
Okay.
So you get paid for showing up that day. And if you are the voice of Menards, sorry.
That's it.
Like, you might be hearing yourself on the radio for 10 years, but you got paid once. Do the recording studio, do they get royalties? That part I don't know. The article didn't specify that. It just said the singers don't. I feel like they would. I mean, maybe not. Maybe
I really don't think so because it's not.
You think it's in a contract where they just sell it wholesale, like it's yours now, do what you want with it?
Yeah, I think so because the way I would look at it is every time you play, like when I put a TV show on TV, there's revenue being generated from that. I guess, but technically with a commercial, there's still revenue being generated because obviously you get sales from it. But you get what I'm saying? Like how do you calculate what the commission should be when there's not really like a transaction there?
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. And I don't know because it's weird because it's like, I don't know how that balances out. But regardless, the singers are not getting paid beyond that first time. Things were still going. 2006, 2011. Looks like there was a few changes here and there. In 2006, the Irish Sounds briefly changed its name to Mic Productions, MIC, like microphone.
Okay.
But then they changed their name back to Irish Sounds again, so I don't know why they changed it for a couple of years. The corporation was dissolved in 2011, but then Keith Irish immediately started up another company called Irish Creative that same year, but that one then got dissolved in 2023.
Wow, so this guy's been going from when did this tale start?
1974.
74 till 2023. That's a hell of a run.
Yeah. For all I know, he's still doing it, but he's retirement age by now.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, there's been a few other people in the area kind of branched off. I already mentioned like the MIDI recording. I don't know how big that got. At some point, they changed their name to Impact Music and moved out to Dale. They don't exist anymore, so I don't know how big that ever got. Tim Dorsey has his own studio as well now called Open Window, which I don't know like what's up with that, but it's called Open Window. As I said, he also manages other places, people such as wedding DJs, comedians, magicians. He's got the legendary Ron Dini. If you've ever seen Ron Dini, he's managed by Tim Dorsey. And if you go to the Open Window website, you can see the jingles that they currently have out there right now. They've got jingles for Lamer's Bus, Cobuson Bus, Parker John's, the Ho Chunk Casino. So Tim Dorsey's still active. And the one thing I really wanted to take away from this is the open-ended thing is I got to wonder how much the original studio, the Irish Sax studio, how much that turned Appleton into a recording area. Because
you never know. I mean,
because I can't imagine that there's multiple jingle recording studios in any big city throughout the state.
And that's what I was wondering. Like, was this just like if you wanted to go north of Milwaukee, these studios were like the only place you could get a jingle recorded?
Originally, yes, but I'm wondering if it just kind of stayed that way.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's crazy that this existed in here. And how much is it that play into the role of like now we have Mila Music? I mean,
that I don't know.
I mean, but you think like, wow, we're building such a culture of music now in Appleton. But I don't know, man. Based on this, it sounds like it existed for quite a while, or prior to Mila Music, you know?
Well, I didn't think about that at all, but you have a point.
You know?
And I had talked to you, earlier in the week or last week or sometime, like I'm familiar with like Rock Garden Studio, which has no affiliation with this at all. Like Rock Garden is not known for recording jingles, but again, like it's another studio, and studios will pop up all over. Like every city at some point has had like a little studio in someone's basement or a back room of a bar or something. But most of them, they pop up, they record 3, 4, 5 things, and then they're done. Like they're not professional outlets by any means. But Appleton seems to consistently open these places, and they stick around, and they're very good. I mean, as far as I know, Rock Garden's going strong. So
right, and you think about it like that. Just this studio here, we're talking like a 30-year run.
Oh, more than that.
Yeah, actually, like a 50-year run,
yeah.
Right? So. And, I mean, where are they getting these clients from? Like, who's going online and being like, I got to find myself a jingle recorder in Appleton, Wisconsin. It's just crazy to me.
I mean, obviously, I'm not in the market of trying to find someone to write a jingle for me, but it is interesting that they were able to build that up, at a time where they weren't really advertising their services, and I can't imagine it was super easy to find.
Mm-hmm.
obviously no internet, but even like Yellow Pages, like if you're in, I don't know, wherever, Minneapolis, your Yellow Pages aren't going to tell you they're in Appleton.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess it's probably they were just going to like music conventions and stuff, and the word just started getting around, and but yeah, it's amazing. It's a cool little story. Our listener, and I don't know how much you talked about this, but our listener that originally emailed us into this had said that he thought, because this recording studio at one point in time was on Spencer Avenue, right?
I think that's when they broke apart.
From
like in 1988, the three partners split, and I think that's when
they went to Spencer.
I think that's when they went there. Yeah.
Okay, because you had thought that the Menards jingle was there, but then it was actually.
I am almost positive that is not where the Menards jingle. I now, full disclosure, all three of these guys, Keith Irish, Mitch Irish, and Ed Sachs, all three of these guys are still alive. Mm-hmm. And I didn't talk to any of them. Mm-hmm. So that probably could have cleared this up real fast if I just asked them, where was the Menards jingle recorded? But I didn't talk to any of them. So, well,
if any of them listen to this podcast and would like to talk about it, we would love to hear more, I'm sure. Do we need to ask the audience for that permission for that one, or can we just call it that we're going to do it if one of them reaches out to us?
If they wanted to do an interview episode, I would 100% do it, and I don't care what the listeners think.
And the other thing we talked about, so the listener that emailed us in had talked about the Stein Gardens and Gifts song.
Yes.
Did you confirm that actually was recorded by this studio?
Yes, they did it.
Okay, they for sure did it?
I don't know when, but yes, they did it.
Okay, super. So there you go, everybody. That is a little bit of history into the recording of music in Appleton.
Yeah, it was fun. One thing I did not say that I should add, because it's kind of funny, is because of how small the singing pool was, when you hear these jingles, especially the old ones, probably less so now, but like, it's a lot of the same.
You'll know the voices.
Yeah. Like for the first few years, like Mitch Irish was the male voice. So if you heard a jingle they released and there was a guy singing it, it was Mitch singing it. So it might not sound like the same guy, but it was the same guy. There's a quote from Janet Planet. I didn't say it, but I'll mention it briefly now, where she talks about, like she's like a lounge singer. But she's like, I've recorded jingles where I'm doing gangster rap.
Really?
Yeah.
I suppose all they need is your voice to be kind of in tune, or like, and then they can just mix it and do whatever they want to get it to where it's.
Yeah. So you may not recognize the voices in jingles, but it turns out that it's a relatively small number of people who just make their voice sound different for all the different jingles.
That's so cool. And that's a skill in itself, right?
Yeah.
So, awesome. So now, after all this is done, we got to ask Gavin for his feedback. Even though this has no purpose of being on Fox Cities Murder and Mayhem, was it a fun story to research?
Yeah. No, I just to be clear on that, I don't have a problem with it not being a crime story. I would love to just tell any Fox City stories. My only concern is that the podcast is called Fox Cities Murder and Mayhem. I don't have a problem straying from that. Like, I don't need to tell crime stories all the time, but that is what the podcast is called. So if somebody says, "Hey, this podcast sounds cool," and they put it on, and
we're talking about
radio jingles, so and that's all it is. It's just like it doesn't match the title. That's my only issue with it.
One final question before we wrap it up. Did you actually find out the voice who sang the Menards jingle?
No.
Of the people? Okay. I was just curious if it was...
I do not know.
Okay.
You would think that if it was Mitch, that somebody would have said that was Mitch, but nobody actually said it. So I don't know if that's him or who that is.
Okay. I was just curious. So, all right. So that is the end of recording in Appleton. Well, I mean, recording in Appleton is going to go on, but
Yeah.
that's the end of our story. So Gavin, do you have any sort of sneak peeks into anything coming up, or are we kind of in a,
Well,
holding pattern on?
so we're going to be in a strange place for a bit. So I think the way this times out, the next one we're going to do is probably our live show.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's very reasonable.
So, I guess I could say, because by the time you hear this, it's not me giving it away anymore. It's gonna be a Shawano story. If you grew up in Shawano, I guarantee you know this. It's everybody in Shawano knows this story. So definitely tune in for that. After that, I've got another shipwreck story lined up. And I do want to return to this movie making venture in
that's
Oshkosh,
right.
which is, again, not murder, not mayhem, not crime. But I think it's an interesting detour just because, what was going on with this? There's something that doesn't feel right to me about how this whole thing played out. And I want to kind of dig deeper into that. I've already reached out to our mutual movie friend in Oshkosh.
Okay.
And he's like, you think we can find a copy of this? I'm like, I don't know, man.
Super cool. All right. So you got that to look forward to. We want to thank everybody for their continued support of our podcast. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode, and that's it.
Oh, that's it. Well, thanks.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
We had chances to win the ball game.
Frank has not had a cushy job. He meets the pack at 0-6.
Are the Packers playoff bound?
I thought today we'd be able to tell. An early Dickie sack puts the pack back on the one.
Not much room to punt.
Then Dickie of the Colts sweeps right for 9 on a run.
Kick 3-0.
Paul Copeland then gets deep. Later from 40.
Good.
3-3.
The Colts try a fake field goal. Guy Prather
Nice move.
says no. O.J. Dickey to the 2. John Thompson again comes through.
In the second half, Boyd calls time but decides to kick.
Stenerud makes it 13-6.
Then Lofton lofts one to Jefferson, pretty slick. Oh,
26.
Cliff Lewis then gets to me. Bozo makes it 2013.
but the Packers find that the Colts aren't clouded around.
They tie the game.
That's hard to swallow, Bart. We should be playoff bound,
20 all.
We win the flip in overtime, but flop when we get the ball. Are the Packers playoff
Well,
bound?
it's still
Are
too
the
early
Packers
to
playoff
tell.
bound? Are the Packers playoff
I
bound?
just don't know
Are the
yet.
Packers playoff bound?
We got the
Are the
Falcons
Packers
next week.
playoff bound?
Thanks for tuning in to Fox City's Murder and Mayhem. Join us in 2 weeks for another exciting episode of Murder and Mayhem.